Well, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to our OP podcast number 6. This series we'll be talking about backpacking and some nice, helpful tips, some cool things that you can take away if you're considering it's getting to be that summertime now. And so now's a great time to get outside and kind of, utilize some of the resources that we're about to tell you. So, my name is Jordan. I work in campus recreation, and I will give the rest of our panelists the time to introduce themselves as well. I guess we'll start off with Brian.
Howdy. I'm Brian. Work in the Outdoor Pursuits program at MSU Denver. And Campus Rec Outdoor Pursuits is a department within campus recreation. And we utilize the outdoors for all sorts of student success outcomes. And we've been doing some backpacking trips through the program now for a long time. And look forward to doing them again in the future. And I will hand off to Dave, who has done some of our backpacking trips over the years as well.
Yeah. Well, my name's Dave Lamott, Assistant Director of Sports, technically with Campus Rec, but as my time as a student at MSU Denver and then the beginning part of my career at MSU Denver, worked with Brian in the Outdoor Pursuits program. Backpacking guide. We led backpacking trips through Campus Rec. I did it as part of my internship. Spent a whole summer in Rocky Mountain National Park, 6 days of the week for the better part of 4 months, exploring the trails of that park, and then just grew up backpacking and all that. So super excited to share some tips and some ideas, and it's an awesome conversation. And I'll throw it to Liza.
Hi guys, I'm Liza. I am student staff at Outdoor Pursuits. Can't say I have quite as much awesome experiences as getting to spend a month or 4 months in Rocky Mountain, but I've got a little bit of backpacking and, hoping to share some knowledge and gain some knowledge during this little podcast.
Awesome.
And I guess I'll throw it to Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys all introducing yourselves. And no matter how much experience you have, Liz, I know all y'all have way more experience than I do. So I think if anyone's going to take some stuff away today, it's probably going to be more than anyone else. And so kind of going off of that little topic right there, all three of you have a good amount of backpacking experience and experience in the outdoors in general. Are y'all doing any kind of trips upcoming and looking forward to anything like that? Any places that I should know about?
Oh, I feel so bad. No, I haven't done anything because of COVID and haven't made any plans for this summer quite yet, but I sure would love to get out there for a week if possible.
Brian, what about you?
Oh, we always have something, kind of on the horizon within the Outdoor Pursuit. So we'll be looking at an overnighter in the fall, most likely. And, as Dave pointed out, some of the trips we've done in the past, those itineraries, we would love to roll those out again and provide those again for students to get involved and also just to get out there.
Lizzie, you're the last one. Save the day, I guess.
I just started looking this past week, started thinking about what maybe I might be planning, where I want to go, what my couple of weekend trips, but nothing solid yet because as we know with the past year, don't plan anything because your plans will just get ruined. So.
Yeah.
I'll offer up, Jordan. I've been thinking about Yellowstone a lot
Yeah.
lately. I'd love to get back up to Yellowstone. Haven't been there probably 15 years or so.
I've got a buddy who works for REI, and he always posts trips and stuff that he goes out and kind of does. And I'm always begging him to bring me and, go along backpacking with him. So I'll have to see if he's gone there, done some things like that.
Nice.
Dave, you got a list, don't you?
Oh, I have a not exhaustive list of things that we could possibly talk about under the umbrella
I
of
was gonna
backpacking.
We could talk this whole time, and I could digress, but I know we've got a pretty extensive list here. And I just kind of like to remind that this is going to be a multiple part podcast. So we're going to talk a lot, and there's a lot to kind of really cram in here in 30 minutes. And so we're going to kind of make this a multiple podcast kind of stream. We'll do part 2, maybe part 3, depending on how in depth we go with this. But I mean, I guess I'd like to start off and see what's the first one on your list.
Well, during our little prep meeting here, Brian made a comment about starting from the ground up. So I thought that was a pretty good place to start, like literally with our feet. So the first thing on my list to kind of talk about, offer up some tips and some guidance on is boots. All right. All I really wanted to say, right, is everything you do nowadays seems to require special footwear, right? You go rock climbing, you got rock climbing shoes. You go play baseball, you got baseball cleats, right? You're going to go trail running, you got trail running shoes. Playing tennis, you got tennis shoes. So of course backpacking, footwear is really important, right? Boots. That's the name of the game in backpacking. Something to protect your ankle from rolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to offer some protection against, stubbing your toe and kicking rocks and things of that nature too. Keeping your feet dry, crossing rivers and all of that. So tons and tons to talk about with boots. All the different styles of backpacking boots, how tall of an ankle you need. Are they waterproof? Are they Gore-Tex? Are they Gore-Tex and leather? All these little intricate caveats to buying a pair of boots. But what I wanted to offer up as a tip on this category is don't wear your boots for the first time the moment you hit the trail. Break those boots in. Yeah, absolutely. Break them in. Buy them several weeks in advance. Wear them around your house. Go get blisters hiking some local trails where you can come back to your house and take care of your blisters, comfortably rather than in the middle of a backcountry where all sorts of other first aid issues become much more important, right? Infections and things like that. So that was kind of my big tip on boots was break them in.
I was going to ask, are there any specific ways to break them in? I know those certain boots are pretty tough, and the ones that I have are fairly durable. I don't know if you just bang them on the ground. I know in baseball you put a big softball or something like that in your glove to kind of help break it in. So I don't know if you put anything in your shoe or anything like that. But I know the blister part. If you go out and you're doing a 12-mile backpacking trip and you get a blister on mile 2, so you're just gonna have a bad time for the rest of your trip.
Absolutely. All I do to break them in, Jordan, is put them on and start wearing them. Wear them for everything, right? I'll wear them driving. I'll walk around my house in them. I'll go get on a trail and just put mileage on those boots and get all those hot spots broken in and, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But, Brian, Liz?
Totally. I'm going to hop in here and there and maybe show a prop or two.
Yeah.
And also take some notes and some topics that we'll kind of address on future podcasts, including probably a whole podcast on footwear, as Dave mentioned, trail running, backpacking, wintertime mountaineering, and all these different needs. And one of my things is don't skimp on boots. Find the best price, shop for the sale, but don't necessarily skimp. And there's a multitude of brands. And this is one of my favorite boots. It's a mid-weight, appropriate boot for light winter use, but long backpacking in the summertime, spring, fall, shoulder season kind of boot as well. And for sure, breaking them in, they're harder to break in these days, I think, than leather boots used to be. And so you got to start early. You got to walk in them a lot, but you don't want to go walking around on the paved trails and the roads on them, because as you break them in, then you'll lose a lot of tread. So it's a little tricky. I think you got to get out on some soft surface trails and put the mileage on that way. It's more enjoyable anyway. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm more of a guy that I've kind of gone back and forth between high ankle shoes and low ankle shoes, especially in basketball. I've had a lot of ankle injuries, and I've heard that like wearing higher ankle, higher up shoes tends to affect your leg the further up you go. So you might have more knee problems. Do you have any kind of like recommendations on the certain height, or like is there too high of an ankle boot? Because I'm looking at some boots right now and they're pretty high, and like your ankle's not going anywhere. So I don't know what the risk management of that kind of,
right where my brain goes, Jordan, is the environment that you're going to be in.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm going to be in a place with like a lot of scrub brush, I'm going to be breaking trail. Maybe there's even snakes that I know are going to be around, things of that nature. I might opt for a taller boot.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I've heard the same thing. Right. Is too tall detrimental because it starts affecting other things in your physiology? Yeah, it could be. But another point would be I'm going to wear a different boot in the desert than I am in like our temperate rainforests outside of Seattle.
Mhm.
So, I just think environment is going to play a big part into boot selection. That's all I'm trying to say.
I hear you. Liza, do you
Yeah,
have a specific brand on your boot? Or I guess any kind of boot brand that you prefer?
So I'm actually going to go kind of opposite a little bit of what Brian said. I prefer little product plug, I guess, Keens, and that's more they're a good entry level boot, and they're not insanely pricey. So it's a good thing to kind of, and I do like some of the other not necessarily construction of the boot, but just company related things that they do. But the Keens that I have, and the other people that also have Keens, basically had to do very little breaking in of those shoes.
Nice.
Like I said, they're not, mine are already kind of starting to wear in. I was just noticing I'm getting some holes in the tops, but yeah, so it also depends on the level of quality of boot you go with. If, the boot that doesn't require any break-in might not last as long, but, if you don't want to spend the money, or maybe you're kind of just want a general going for a couple of miles on the trail shoe, might be a good thing to consider.
You got invited to go to the Grand Canyon this weekend, and you need shoes now.
Exactly. Yeah. You just realize that your shoes are destroyed and you need new ones.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
call.
I've
Good
been
call.
there.
no, totally. And you know what? It's interesting. You say start with the ground and work your way up. When I do my gear check, that's how I do it. I start with the soles of my shoes, and then work up through my socks and my layers, and then all the way up and then to my head, and make sure that I've got all the gear that I need for whatever activity I'm heading out for.
I do it the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Well, my hat and my sunglasses are like number one important to me.
Finish with the feet. So it's interesting because, like in first aid, with adults you start with the head and work your way down, but with kids you start at their feet and work your way up.
Yeah.
It gives you entree, and the kids are a little less nervous by the time you wiggle their toes a little bit.
Right. Interesting.
All right.
That's the first thing I can take away here. I know there's a few things in life that you just don't skip on, or you don't go cheap on. I know vacuums is one of those I've learned. A bed mattress is another one, and now I guess hiking boots is another one I can add to that list as well.
Yeah.
So I guess going up from your feet, what else would if you're working your way up the anatomy, what I guess is next on the list?
Next part, and it comes to mind in my head, would be what goes in those boots is your feet, and what goes on your feet is socks, right? And just kind of talking about that. Again, these are all huge topics, so we could have entire podcasts about, just on these one topics, including socks. We could talk hours just on socks, right? Cotton socks, synthetic socks, the thickness of the socks, the height of the socks, the number of socks that you wear, the number of socks you bring, right? To borrow kind of a phrase that I will butcher, but from kind of the military industry, right, is like your feet are your most important part. You can't do anything if you have swamp foot, if you got blisters on your feet, right? You're not going to be an effective soldier. So just to bring that back to our realm, you're not going to have a good time if your feet are wet and swampy and blistery. So, proper care of your feet is important. So when I spent a lot of time when I was on the trail, 6 days every week, right? I was a 2-sock person. And so I have a liner sock, really thin, maybe it could be silk or a polypropylene, but it's super thin. And then I had like a slightly heavier weight sock on top of that, and a synthetic sock here. So something like a Smart Wool product, right? Something along those lines. But not cotton in this realm, and I'll talk a little bit more about cotton and backcountry and that stuff. But your feet sweat, so having something that kind of helps manage that moisture is going to be important, right? I think in all scenarios. But I was a double sock person because it helps to prevent some blisters, right? You have sock on sock rubbing instead of foot on sock on boot. So the two socks kind of create like a friction barrier, and they'll rub back and forth rather than your foot rubbing back and forth. So it just helps a little bit in that sense. I'm not a toe sock person. If you remember what those are, right? The socks with the little individual toe thingies, like
man,
the foot gloves.
those just weird me out. I don't know why. It's like, ugh.
I can't get used to them as a sock, right? Like the shoes, that's another kind of deal. But just like the glove socks, not my style. Just a pretty traditional sock for me. And then I like to have my socks extend above the top of my boot, so that I don't get hot spots between the top of the boot and my ankle. Right? I want to have, again, some layer there to prevent that friction against my skin. So
wait, do you pull your sock over the boot, or
no? Just make sure they're tall, right? So I don't have like
Okay.
ankle socks. You
Okay.
can't see my foot. I wouldn't have like little ankle socks, right? I'm gonna have socks that go up like mid calf or to my knee, right?
Oh gosh, first thing I think of is if you actually I guess that wouldn't really make sense if you put your sock over your shoe, because then you get so many rocks going down into your sock and dirt. Like
Exactly.
that's the one killer that gets me on every hike is I have to stop at least once, and maybe it's because I drag my feet, but I have to stop at least once or twice and just take off my shoe and empty out all the rocks and stuff I kick up. So.
Okay. But you know what?
It'd be a pain if it got in your sock.
You're airing your feet out. You're letting that moisture escape. So it's got other benefits too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious,
Plus,
Brian.
it's nice to sit.
Yeah, it's
an
nice to
excuse
sit.
when I'm tired.
Stop and smell the roses when you're backpacking, man. That's tip number 1, right? But Brian, Liza, sock thoughts?
I'll let you go for it, Brian. You first.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, yeah, the sock layering is key, and also assists with that boat break-in part and all of that. And I'm also thinking we're well in and we're to the ankles. So what's next?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, then I think
That's why we're doing multiple ones.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So I'm thinking layers is probably next, right? I'm thinking pants,
layers.
long underwear, that type of situation. And I love talking about pants very specifically.
Mm-hmm.
There's an adage in the outdoor industry here that cotton kills.
Yeah.
And while that can certainly be true in some pretty extreme scenarios, right? In most cases, wear cotton. It's comfortable, right? I have done numerous backpacking trips in jeans and been fine. I'm here talking to you today. Hi, with both my legs. Right? I've gone rock climbing in jeans, right? I've gone canyoneering in jeans. I've done it all. Basically in jeans, right? But of course, there's a time and a place for that type of comfortability, right? A short backpacking trip close to a trailhead, I might wear comfortable clothes. A more expeditionary length, something that's going to be a longer amount of time where I'm farther away from services and coming home, I'm going to take maybe more synthetic type of pant wear there, because I don't know what weather phenomena I'm going to come across over that long period of time. And that's the concern with cotton, is that it doesn't dry fast. So if it gets wet and then the temperatures drop, your jeans, your cotton socks are just going to stay wet, whereas a synthetic material is going to wick that moisture and it's going to allow that moisture to evaporate more quickly, right?
So where does weight fit in there?
So
like
yeah.
The weight clothes.
And so that's what I would say. So that comes back to the sport, right? So like how I layer for a day of backcountry skiing is very different than how I'd layer for a backpack in July, right? But my tip here is have a system and be able to adjust and manage your body temperature with that layering system, right? So base layers, windbreaker layers, a heavier layer, a down jacket, something like that, right? Pants that convert to shorts, like key for managing body temperature, especially on the trail and things like that. So there's just a conversation about synthetics versus cotton, and I just want to take the opportunity to say it just depends what you're doing.
There's pants that can go from like pants to shorts?
Yeah, they just zip off the bottom half of the legs.
They have like a zipper on it or something?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Side note, today is National Zipper Day, so just throwing that out there. It was invented April 29th, 1913. Fun little fact, the zipper. So.
T-I-L.
What were you going to say, Liza? It's my random fact for the day.
It's a technology that literally revolutionized the outdoors, though. That you almost have the zipper on it. Yeah. So, good to know.
Are y'all kind of the people that like to have multiple zipper pockets, like pants with multiple pockets, or is it like all in the backpack?
Depends
There's
what I'm
mixed
doing.
feelings here. See, this is good to know. If I go out and I go on like a trip, I don't want to look like I'm out of the know with all these pockets down to my ankles.
I think it's pretty preferential. That's all I was gonna say. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but that's a segue for me, to see we have a backpack here too. We're going to pull a few items out and kind of wait until we got past the ankles and then into the clothing part, and I'll start to pull a few things out, and then and we'll proceed. And of course, here's another podcast: the suspension and fitting of a backpack is a topic we'll hit on.
Absolutely.
Point.
It's a really important
So this
one.
is not a huge backpack, 45 liter. It's expandable. And it's just about right for it depends on your preferences, but a couple of nights out, maybe up to 4 or 5 nights out. And real quick here, so I do have some layers. So the idea of comfort and cotton, for sure, and then you amend that with synthetics or waterproof layers, and that's a pretty good call, pretty good way to go. And here we have two layers that fit into that category: rain gear and breathable waterproof gear. All right, back to you, Dave.
I mean, Liz, anything to add on layers? Favorite system style fabric?
I think Brian kind of hit the nail on the head for me. I am a multiple. I wouldn't say full outfit, but I would. I will have at least what I'm wearing and then another day's worth of clothes, and not necessarily the layers, but just in case whatever I'm wearing gets soaked, gets covered in who knows what, and I can't wear it anymore. And then I can switch out. But I do like doing the long underwear layer. That keeps you so warm, and then you gotta stop and find somewhere to change real quick if it gets too hot. But then you kind of have you're prepared for a large range of weather situations.
Absolutely.
And I always have some sort of just a simple parka, rainproof parka thing, just in case.
Yeah, same.
Absolutely.
Well, go ahead, Dave.
I just have one last thing to add. Synthetic material rips really easily. So, catch it on a twig as you're walking by. You could do a big hole in your pants, right? So it's just something to consider, right? Jeans, super durable. So, I'm not advocating for jeans. I'm just saying don't be scared depending on what you're doing. Be realistic about it. That's all we're saying, right? And then I'll end it with this too. Don't skimp on rain gear. It's just like boots, right? Get the nice stuff. You'll just be much happier. But to a point, all jackets are not rainproof, right? If you're in a torrential downpour, you're gonna get soaked after a period of time. The jacket's just not gonna do its job anymore. So there's that. Well, let's see. We had layers. I just thought of this too. Layering for sun protection. So I actually wear long underwear underneath my shorts, like when I go river rafting, right? Just to protect my legs from sun damage, right? You just can't keep enough suntan lotion on wet skin for it to be effective. So layering for sun protection too is important, and you'll see SPF rated clothing, shirts with SPF technology in them and all that stuff too. But cool.
I've heard of people layering with their actual their backpack. I've heard them put like trash bags inside the backpack as like the second layer, and then putting like your sleeping bag and your dry clothes.
Yeah.
And then, maybe I'm saying that wrong. I think they put the trash bag in, and then they put other stuff in another trash bag to put in that trash bag.
To help waterproof.
So you're just like layering everything. And I don't know what y'all's thoughts on that. I know I've done that one time backpacking. It didn't really rain or get me wet or anything like that, so it was more of a hassle kind of getting everything out. And I just have the perception that anything in a trash bag is dirty. I don't know why. So it was kind of cringe the whole time, but I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that, and if it's a necessity.
My thoughts are that's an excellent bullet point when we really talk about backpacks, right? What you're getting at is waterproofing the contents, right? So you put all your stuff in a trash bag and then you put that in your backpack. It's going to add an additional layer of waterproofing or water protection to the contents. You can also put that trash bag over your whole backpack like a big poncho. So excellent conversation to have when we talk about backpacks
When we
more
come
in
back
depth.
next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
So I guess this next part, we'll just, from the material we've kind of discussed today, and maybe if you want to add a little bit more information to it, but what are y'all's 3 essentials or your 3 primary things, maybe even the 3 most important things when going out backpacking just off of the material we've learned today alone?
I'll go.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
I got one, and then we'll rotate around. But I got
Sure.
one, and it's not really related to anything that's come up so far. But it is simply don't break the laws of the places you are going to go to.
Ask
That's
permission
important.
for private property.
Yeah, research that. There are folks languishing in prisons in countries around the world. So that you don't have to worry about that here on the Front Range too much, because you're not going to foreign land. But
Unless you're trying to bag all the 14ers, and then one of them has that whole issue about private land from time
Trespass.
to time.
Yeah.
Yep.
all right, so that's my first
That's a good one.
I'll go next. Number 1, absolute most important piece of gear, equipment for Dave is these sunglasses right here. No, it's not just to look cool or whatever. I just have hypersensitive eyes. Super, super sensitive to sun. I'll get headaches. I'll start tearing up. My eyes will get puffy if I don't have these. So these are like more than just looking cool. These are an actual piece of like first aid equipment for me. Keep my eyes
Especially
healthy.
if you're around a lot of snow, too.
Yeah, and then all the snow stuff too. But absolutely, man, won't leave home without my sunglasses.
I like
And
it.
they do look really cool.
Hey,
so
another
that's
cut. And
It's
they
just,
look
it's just a plus. Lizzo, what you got for us?
Oh man, yeah, probably most. I guess my number 1 would be kind of be honest with yourself and realistic about what you're gonna do, and don't push for something that you're gonna get yourself hurt or get stranded, or if you want to do a 20-mile hike but you can only do a 10-mile hike, just do a 10-mile hike.
Yeah, makes sense.
aim for the next level up. Don't actually push for it.
my next one is take your meds.
Take your meds.
Take them with you, but also
Oh.
take them. Don't take a vacation from your meds. Take them with you, and take extras in case you get waylaid along the way.
Yeah.
That's an essential. That's not included in the 10 essentials very often, but I think it is a very important one.
I like that a lot. I've always lived by I'd rather have something and not need it than need it and not have it. I don't know if that necessarily fits with everything, but I mean, in this case right here, it definitely does, bring a little bit of extra just in case. So I like that one a lot.
So my number 2 is relative to sleeping, another topic we didn't get to today, but that's going to be upcoming. So old school, you get these pads here, of course, yeah, okay, these ridge rest things, right?
Doesn't want to show. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. So you see these things. I mean, first of all, look how big and bulky this thing is. It weighs like nothing, right? But it's big, it's bulky. It's also only this thin, right? First misconception, these aren't for comfort sleeping, right? These are to get you off of the cold ground, so they're heat management, okay? But, goodbye, those things. Hello, air cores. Oh, okay, this is 3.5 inch of loft, and I'm sleeping on a pillow of air. So, gets me off the cold ground, but it also is super comfortable. It's also this big. It's about as big as a coffee can of Folgers. So it takes up less space. It can go into my bag easier. It's just smaller, and honestly, it weighs just about the same. So
I was gonna say, what's the weight? What's the weight like?
yeah, very, very comparable. Again, there's just a lot less mass to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my style. The AirCore air mattress type of sleeping pad.
It's pretty neat right there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's my turn. Yeah. Well, I guess while we're doing show and tell, and I might steal somebody's thunder with this, but thing to have with you. Oh my gosh, wait, there we go.
Yeah.
Wag bag.
A leg bag, yay!
How to
I
poop
thought
in
it
the
was coffee for a second there.
Yeah, I mean that's also good, but don't confuse the two. You will have a bad day. Yeah, no, we didn't cover pooping in the woods, and that is just, for me, that's the simplest. Like, I don't have to think about, am I in high alpine? Am I in desert? How close is the closest water source? Did I bring a shovel? Can I dig, is it too rocky to be able to dig 6 inches down? So I think that's just kind of the like, cool, I have it, I'm good. If when I need it, if I'm going on a multi-day trip, I have it. Well, have multiple of them, but
Totally.
and you don't have to really it's not as complicated as knowing where you can and can't dig a cat hole or whatever.
Yeah.
So wag bag, yay, bring
And
it with you.
in some places you don't have the option, right? Like
Yeah.
backpacking in Canyonlands in Utah, like you have to pack out, so you have to use wag bags. You can't bury in that environment; it's too sensitive. So, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and did you say this too? Wag bags can be thrown straight into the trash, so they don't have to handle this hazardous material after your trip. So that's
I did not mention that, but that's a very good thing to add. Yeah.
Nice,
there's
convenient.
chemicals in there that break chemicals,
There-
whatever. There's stuff in there that breaks it down. You
Yeah.
don't have to.
They're also not a clear sandwich baggie.
Oh gosh. Okay.
You can't see
Oh,
into
gosh.
them.
Yeah. That's one of the first things I noticed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Gives a little bit of a different perception.
Yeah.
Brian, what's your third one?
All right, my third one. So I'm saving some for future episodes. So I'm thinking about this one. If someone in your group, or if you, for some reason, needs to lighten your load or carry part of someone else's load, that's fine, but not the sleeping bag. Leave them with their sleeping bag. Carry something else to lighten the load, so that if you got separated, someone is not without a sleeping bag.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great advice. Great advice.
That's number 3.
All right, my number 3 is another segue for our next podcast when we're dealing with food storage. I thought I would hate this product when I first bought it, and I won't go backpacking without it. I don't care what the food storage limitations are or restrictions are. Can I hang bare bags? Do I have to use bare containers at campsites? Things like that. But it is the portable food storage container, right? It's a little heavy by design because it's supposed to prevent a bear getting into this thing and breaking it open, right? But I specifically like this brand, which is the Backpacker's Cache, whatever. But here's why. Because it has a flat top. You can see some of these canisters that have a domed top. Kind of a cool look or whatever. But flat top, I can sit on this. So now I have food storage and a chair that I can bring with me. More to the point, survival scenario, I can empty the food out. I now have a place to put water. I can go collect water in this thing. Something tragic happens and I need hazardous material storage. Bam, hazardous material storage. All right. Survival situation and I need to hunt an animal, store some meat. Bam, meat storage. So it serves so many purposes. But the biggest one, food storage, so I don't have to deal with hanging bags and that whole nonsense. I just put all my food in here, and anything with an odor, toothpaste, deodorant, that type of stuff too.
So it seals everything. It doesn't have a smell.
Mm-mm. And then there's big O-ring on this thing. And then you just go take this about 100 yards from your campsite, and you just leave it over there. You don't have to hang it, you don't have to bury it. So it's just really convenient, and it doubles as a chair, and then all those other stuff. So
that's pretty unique. I like that one a lot.
I love it. And kind of along with wag bags and how to poop, some places will mandate that you have to have one of these. Very, very typically beach, right? Especially like Northern California beaches have to have one of these. Rocky Mountain National Park, this is the only thing that's approved for food storage, for example. They got rid of all their bear boxes at their campsites and all that. So
interesting.
Food storage bin, man, makes it so convenient. Don't have to worry about it.
Well, that's a really good one, Dave. I appreciate you showing us that. Liz, bring us home.
Not necessarily the Nalgene, but things to consider. Water, especially up in the Rockies. And I know I've talked to people who mistakenly believe I can just drink out of the creek, right? It's fine. I don't need to treat anything. And I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. So consider how much water you need to bring. If you can pack enough, have water treatment or purification of some sort with you as a backup, and make sure the other thing, especially in Colorado, there's not water everywhere. So you might want to plan your route kind of, okay, we're going to stop by be by a creek for a little bit, in between the journey, just so you have a chance to get more water and purify it if you need to.
Yeah.
Water is important.
It is. That's one of my favorites. And we have a saying at Outdoor Pursuits. It goes something like this: prehydrate, hydrate, rehydrate. So in the morning, drink plenty of, believe it or not, coffee and water, etc. And then drink water in the course of the day, doing your best to stay hydrated. Some things you do, it's virtually impossible to stay fully hydrated. So then at the end of the day, you got to rehydrate.
Yeah.
And so then you drink a lot of water in the afternoon and evening so that you wake up hopefully hydrated. Then you prehydrate again. So you repeat that cycle. Long days out mountain biking on multiple day trips. That's just what you got to do for sure. Now, coffee, real quick, is caffeine is a diuretic, but coffee is 99% water. And so when you drink a glass of water, it hydrates you at approximately a 90% effectiveness. In other words, you use some water to process the water, so it's not 100% that you gain. If you make coffee and you drink the water, you're perhaps hydrating at 80% efficiency. So if you enjoy coffee, you can enjoy coffee and still go mountain biking that day.
Not only are you getting hydrated, but you're also getting up early and getting enough energy for the rest of your day.
Oh.
So
Some energy.
I like that.
Especially when you're in charge of and guiding, 9, 10-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to make them
Right.
breakfast every day. You need that coffee, man. Get going.
Yeah. Tune in a separate podcast when we'll be talking 30 minutes just straight coffee and coffee brands and whatnot. So, but we're going to continue this podcast as well. We're going to continue where we left off, working our way up and talking about just some of the other fundamentals of backpacking and just how to help, prepare yourself when you go out, know before you go. So, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you all next week.
Tune into the
Thanks,
next
everybody.
one.
See you later.